Morning, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earthwatch on Sunday, January 15, 2023 on our planet. Hope you're all well. And keep on looking up to the skies. You know what I mean? So I want to take you through the Earth changes I would expect to happen and in what order in relation to the continuing changes within the outer core, hence the magnetic excursion, and quite probably by the influence of an external gravitational force coming into our system. So there's what's called outer core expansion. The outer core where our magnetic field is generated from. Are you paying attention, Gene? And thus the changes going on within resulting in the outer core expansion, creating a pressure and heat rise. And I'll go through the order in which I expect to see these changes, and in fact I am seeing these changes. Now, I'm not going to go into every single layer of the Earth description. There's the inner core, outer core, lower mantle, upper mantle, asthenosphere, lithosphere, and finally the crust that sits on top of the lithosphere. And then, of course, as I said so many times, the mantle plumes, which are anchored to the outer core, which rise up and put pressure to the underside of the Earth's crust. Now, as that heat and pressure rises, we're going to first see the indications where Earth's crust is the thinnest, which is the oceanic crust, the average of 6 kilometers thick. That's where we're first going to see indications, and we have seen indications over the past several years. A lot of people just don't realize it, however. So, at the bottom of the ocean floor, as well as the volcanic islands. For example, in the beginning of the pandemic, we had last sulfur year on St. Vincent's in the Caribbean exploded substantially. A lot of people forgot about that one. Then in September 21, we had La Palma going off. Then, of course, Honga Tonga, Honga Haipai, January 15, 2022. Those are just a few of the examples. There are many more, examples, heat signatures coming out through the ocean floor that I detect. So that's the first indication. The second indication is where the Earth's crust step up in thickness at the continental shelves or the shallow coastal waters and all the island regions along the coast. Two examples recently being Providence, Rhode Island area, and then the next day off the coast of Maine. So on either side of that line of undersea mounts off of northeast United States off the coast of Maine. And there's other indications as well. Coast of British Columbia, which is actually an extension of Alaska, U.S. territory. Mount Edgecumbe volcano, right on the coast. A line of earthquake swarming leading up to that volcano. And other examples. So coastal areas, which would include subduction zones, plate interfaces. So North American plate, Pacific plate subducting underneath the Pacific plate. The interface is the space in between where magma or its heat can escape. So those coastal volcanoes, the Cascadia Range, for example, were formed from the subduction process, pushing up, creating volcanoes. So from Northern California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and in fact the entire coastline of British Columbia. So coastal ranges volcanoes third. And that's when I'm going to go, uh-oh. Yeah, and there's other indications that I've seen and pointed out. Earthquake swarm off the coast of Vancouver Island starting at a mud volcano. So there's many examples that I see that have volcanic of origin. And again, northeast coast of the United States, those tsunami buoys on either side of that line of undersea mounts that periodically go into motion, which suggest, you know, we have some mantle plume upheaving, upwelling pressure. Second, now we have heat indications on either side. Third, we have those earthquakes in Buffalo, New York, ranging in magnitude 3.8 to 4.2. Other things that I watch out for. Deep earthquakes in locations where we normally do not have deep earthquakes. We have established points on our globe where we have deep earthquakes. In fact, they're so predictable. Fiji, most common. Areas of Indonesia, Japan, the Sea of Okhotsk, Russia, below Argentina, below Peru. Those are normal locations, deep earthquakes. However, I'm seeing them in new locations such as below France. And I have seen them below central Turkey on December 22. So on about 2 occasions, I've seen deep earthquakes below Turkey. And of course, look what happened. Watch out for increased earthquake activity at fracking locations and other areas where man has perforated through the Earth's crust. Weak points. For example, about a week ago, we had the magnitude 4.2 earthquake in Fort St. John's, British Columbia. At the same time, 1,300 kilometers away in Montana, a 4.1. At same depth, 5 kilometers. Don't you find that kind of odd? Or maybe, could it be one of these again? Looking for a weak point. So same magnitude earthquakes at the same time, same depth, but at vast distances apart from each other. So let's stick with, let's go back to the, hang on a minute. So what would really get my attention, folks, following the Turkey earthquake devastation, if between now and the end of the year we had 2 more large catastrophic earthquakes somewhere on our planet, would get my attention. I remember Mr. John Moore's interview with whomever a while ago. As that 10th planet gets closer and closer and its gravitational influence is not only on tidal waters, we're going to see a substantial rise in earthquakes to the point where people are going to be talking about it on a daily basis as they pass by each other on the streets. We've had one. Second, a continuation of earthquake events that indicate a wider action below the crust. For example, in January earlier this year, the 7.6 earthquake in the Banda Sea, where at the same time at approximately 3,000 kilometers away, we had the tsunami buoys in the Philippine Sea go into motion. There was no tsunami, of course. Again, I've said this before. Mantle plume, right? The Banda Sea, the ridge of islands east of Sulawesi, and the Philippine Sea, 3,000 kilometers away. Magma plume, maybe 2 arms, maybe 2 branches, right? earthquake, Boise. Following, 2 weeks later, 7.2 earthquake in northeast of Sulawesi, Indonesia. At the same time, many thousands of kilometers away, the 750-kilometer deep earthquake off the shore of New Zealand. Here we go again. Okay, these are things that no one else is cluing into. Again, they rush to their special graphics, and let's quickly get my post out first so I can get the most likes. We had an earthquake and we had tsunami boys going off, and that's it. No critical observation, no critical thinking skills. I'm putting it all together. Okay. It's what's happening below. Hugely. When that mantle plume reaches the underside of the crust, the head will spread. It can spread thousands of kilometers in diameter. And it has all these branches or nodes pushing underneath the crust. And what I call a magma wave action. If we have a deep earthquake somewhere down in the mantle transition zone, it creates a magma wave action coming up. So again, deep earthquakes in locations where we normally don't see them. I've seen a couple, 3 or 4 below France and a couple below Turkey. This is what I watch out for. So this is part of my daily checks, my weekly checks, my monthly checks. After a month or so, I go over and I take a look and see what's happening. Is it picking up? Yes. So let's lead this discussion into the safe zone location. Again, I'm not going through every single region of the planet. You got to start doing your own homework. I will give you the information. I will tell you what I think and what I will be doing. First and foremost, get off the coast at least 500 kilometers. And for the second reason, that's where your major population centers are. You don't want to be around all those people who are not prepared, not awake, and have no idea what's coming. Second, elevation. John Moore says 600 minimum. I say be safe, maybe 1,000. Me, I'm at 1,500. When you find your elevation, even though you're way up there, make sure you're not in between 2 mountain ranges, or you're going to have flooding. Next, do your own geological survey. It's quite easy. Get on Google while you still can. And what are the fault lines in that area? Next, is any area a volcanic region? There's places throughout my province that people have no idea. It's not just the coast. Next, you want to be very close, within walking distance, to a river, preferably glacial fed for freshwater circulation. If possible, you want to be near a very small community that has, say, a retired doctor and a retired dentist. You want to be close to an area where there's already some orchards, fruit and vegetable growing regions, where you can barter and trade for food, offer your services for food. Check to see if there's any caves in the area. The caveman did their hunting and gathering just before the last mass extinction 42,000 years ago at that nighttime, because they figured out that going outside in the sun and the increased UVC coming in just burned the you-know-what out of them. So they did a lot of their hunting and gathering at nighttime. The only way that you're going to be keeping yourself warm is through fires. I'm speaking of only British Columbia as one example. I would be looking close to a wood mill, even an abandoned wood mill. You have lots of wood still left there. You're going to need lots of wood. You're going to need the tools to chop your wood. That's a separate video. Remember, I went back and I said, you know what? those old, ancient, dusty old bag of bones, old man tools are going to become very valuable pretty soon. So get off the coast, get at your elevation, make sure you're not between two ranges, make sure you're south-facing for growing your food, make sure, check the history, check the area for the history of repeated, reoccurring landslides. There's another one. That's your homework, not mine. Right. Stay off any major transportation routes leading out of the cities. As much as you may want to help your fellow man, you only have enough food and other supplies for yourself and your family, and that's it. If your immediate family members are escaping from the city, if they manage to get to you, well, you know, of course you're going to take them in. Your supplies have just been cut in half. That's about it for now. I just want to tell you what I look for on a daily basis, what I see, what to watch out for. So again, if there's 2 more major earthquakes between now and the end of the year, and I haven't even gotten into volcanic eruptions yet. So start doing your homework. It's really, really easy. Use Google right now. Check your own area where you're staying at right now. If you are making plans or you want to get out, check the other location. Fault lines, volcanic regions, history of landslides. What's the population like there? Any other people growing food there? How close is the river within walking distance? Because you're going to be carrying buckets of water. So this concludes this video. I think I'm going to be doing at least 2 more later on. One final note about all these objects flying around up there. Pay a close attention to what they are not telling you. A lot of criticisms why they didn't shoot it down at nighttime. Oh, we have all this fantastic technology, right? Because they want to see a visual video recording from their cockpit cameras. They need to see what these objects are. Not a blip on a radar screen, which apparently is being jammed. But consider that this is part of an overall distraction campaign. Possibly. Unless the government can show you and tell you how the propulsion system was. Show you some electronic components that might state the point of origin. But see how transparent they are in telling us, the world population, at least us here in Canada and you folks down in the United States, what the hell is going on. Right. I keep on saying 2025, but you know what? They have to have certain things in place by 2025, so maybe a little bit sooner. That's all for now, folks.